Get Beth and Mike on.
Hey, Beth, we're about to start. You can stay over there if you want to. We're going to call this meeting of the Mayor and Board to order. If y'all would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you give our invocation?
We got to join in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we come with first say, Lord, we'll thank you for this another day that you have given us on this side. We thank you, Lord, for giving us an opportunity to come and serve these, your people. We pray, Lord, that whatever service that we run on tonight will be pleasing in thy sight. We ask you, Lord, to continue, Lord, to bless our soldiers far and near. And Heavenly Father, we ask for peace in this United States and the foreign lands. We just thank you right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if y'all would keep the Flynn family in your thoughts, our ex-police officer, Dickie Flynn, passed away today. So if you'd keep their family in your thoughts and prayers. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. You.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion passes. Can I have a motion to approve the docket of claim numbers listed on your agenda?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the docket of claims on the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 6 is to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting on February 15th, 2022.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 7 is the consent agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
So motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, item 8 is the personnel docket. I have a motion to approve it.
Second. I move. So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 9 is the approval for Guaranty Bank to issue a debit card for accounts payable clearing account, as some vendors will only accept the debit card payment online. This will ensure timely payment for these vendors. Authorized users would be Amy Clare and Pam Powell, and the city clerk can answer any questions or concerns you may have about that item.
Is there any state regulations as far as credit card usage or anything?
Well, there are, but it's state statute, you can do this.
Okay.
And it will be secured in the office.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And item 10 is the approval for a visa for the Public Works Director with a limit of $5,000, and the Public Works Director, Lee Germany, will be the only user.
Is this kind of for the same reason, I guess?
Well, this will give him more opportunity, easier procurement for small items.
And I just this is just a question. Why not the assistant director also? I mean, you know, he's sticking out. You know, I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Why was so limited? I mean, to
Where do we
just
go?
him only.
Yeah.
I didn't put my social on the application, so I didn't feel comfortable with adding a second user to it. So, I mean, we can add it if there's a joint.
Yeah, just to,
No,
I'm with you. Why don't we say if we can, we will work towards getting him approved as a user as well.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that as long as it's joint.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a good point, Alderman
well,
Moore. Because I know they're always running in here
my
grabbing a
point
credit
is
card.
this: it should have been approved through the city versus through an individual.
Or
That-
does
that-
the city
Well, he said he had to use his social security number.
as an authorized user,
But,
but it's a city card.
well, so would the urgent be the same? He said he don't feel comfortable because his social security number is on there.
As an authorized
I
user.
think what he's saying is he's responsible for that card. He don't feel comfortable with somebody else using it, I think is what he's saying.
But we can get another one for
We get another card issued.
Well, you know, just as long as that you got some
I think
bad.
another card on the same account. I think we agree on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, will someone make the motion to authorize this item with Lee Germany and Curtis? assistant and
So moved.
director.
We'll work it out the way you need it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is a Parks Department item, the approval to enter into an agreement with Chris Jeter to serve as the assigner for the spring and fall 2022 youth baseball and softball seasons, and that contract has been reviewed by the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Chief, could you or the assistant chief come up and talk about the recommendation y'all have on Ice Plant Road for us that came out of the last meeting?
Yes, sir. So we took the last couple of weeks just kind of monitoring what was going on down there. And went down there and spent a little time with Jason today and talked about the concerns of what he has.
Is he the
parked out
owner
in
of the
street.
business?
Jason's in, yes, sir.
Okay.
And Chief Berry provided me with this report. This report was from July the 16th of 2020. I guess it was their fire marshal report for inspection. And certainly don't work in the planning department, but some of the issues specifically as it relates to the street, he still has issues with, and we talked about that. I showed him this, and I asked him, was this his signature on the back? So currently on the street, about half of what he's got parked in the street is inoperable. And according to the planning report, specifically, they notated to him, because of our ordinance, that he cannot have non-operable vehicles on the street. So we discussed that. He adamantly wants to work with the city to come up with a resolution that works. Again, not speaking for the planning department, but I think he misinterpreted some of their direction as not parking in the grass, because he only has a paved, the drive that's a paved parking. He doesn't have anything but a little bit of gravel and then the grass out back. Because if you notice, kind of behind, like adjacent to the property, there's grass. So he doesn't have anything over there, but he's got it all stacked up on the gravel area. So again, not speaking for the planning department, but I think he misinterpreted parking surface. So I told him that I thought that if he worked towards getting his areas paved, and he got, most of what is on his current lot now is also inoperable. It is vehicles that have been there for, in some cases, years. And he's trying to do the right thing and not do a mechanics lien and get rid of them. But again, I told him, if you're gonna operate a business inside the city, you can't be a storage for people that won't come pick up their vehicles. Like the state has a van there that's been there for, I think he said 3 years. And it's one of the mental health vans. They won't come get it, so that's taking up a spot.
So these are vehicles that were there before he even owned the business.
A lot of this he inherited, absolutely. So we had a very good conversation, and I told him that he needs to get in accordance with what he signed in July of 20, as far as the non-operable vehicles off of the street. If he takes those vehicles off the street, that automatically takes up half of what he's got out there. I think there was 3 vehicles that he was just waiting on customers to come get, but also I explained if you would get rid of the other stuff that's on your lot, you might have parking for those. So, but I told him it was gonna be my recommendation after watching it, over the last couple of weeks. I know we had one parking issue that we addressed where a wrecker came up and essentially blocked the entire, and of course, it is narrow through there, but we told him, and he said he understood, and I told him if it was the wishes of the board, that our recommendation was gonna be that he could only utilize that street to move his cars around, his operable cars around during his business hours of operation. And he said he understood, he thought that was fair, because that street is not a no parking area. But we also don't feel that he should be able to utilize that street for storage, because it is a city street. So my recommendation would be to restrict business parking for that street, because that business is the only one that's utilizing that street for parking. For 2 weeks, I monitored it, that's the only one, that I saw, so I think he absolutely wants to do what's right. He's working on, he's already got estimates on paving. I believe he told us $8,000 is what it was gonna cost, to get paving. If he gets rid of those cars that's been there for years, I think he could maneuver around and make everybody happy and open up that street. He probably wouldn't have to use it much at all. He literally probably, Chief Ellis, you say 8 or 9, 10 cars literally that he's got that's just inoperable and it's just taking up space,
So your recommendation is what hours that parking is allowed on the street?
Of his business hours, I believe he said was 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
So if they're parking on the street, what do we do with them?
After hours, well, see, that's the other tricky part, because you all would have to designate a no parking area during specific times, just like we do on the courthouse. We had to adopt or the board adopted a no parking area out here when the museum was across the street, at any time. So it would take the board's action to regulate parking during the time, just like we do on the square. But as a business, and we rode around and we were pretty familiar with the other mechanic shops and businesses that have an influx of vehicles. Nobody else is using any of the city streets to park. Patrick sometimes uses, but I don't know if that's a city street there, but next to his place, I can't even think of the name.
Captain D's?
Yeah, yes, sir. I don't know if that's a city.
That is a city street, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he does utilize, but also I did notice that he might pull a car out there, but at the end of the day, they're typically gone. So
Your
that's-
recommendation is something like no parking between the hours of 6
I would
PM
say
and 7 AM?
I would say, 6 PM to 6 AM. And it's, obviously that area has been an issue with that particular business. His lot, if you've been there, it is extremely small.
It is.
Extremely small. He's got an issue out back with stacks of tires he's been trying to get. Evidently disposing of tires right now is a pretty significant, so he's working on trying to get that done. But if he could get that done and get some parking, I think it would be a non-issue, and I think everybody would be happy. But I just, to be as completely fair as we could, because again, he signed this saying he's not supposed to be parking on the street, the non-operable vehicles. And typically what, they are tagged, because I checked a couple of those, but they don't, like, there's an F-150 that someone just gave him because it blew up. It's tagged, it's legit, the lid, the hood is shut, but it does not run, and it's leaking oil on the ground, so.
Well, if we restricted no parking, then, that would be no parking for
Anybody,
anyone.
during those hours, that's right.
So, if there happened to be something going on at the track, then that limits that too.
Now, well, what you can do, and that's what we did here, is you can designate a space, a no parking space, so you could take the narrow section of that street, because as you know, when it gets up on top of the hill, it does open up a lot. So you could,
Take those 4 or 5 parking places and
Yes,
restrict
sir.
those.
Yeah.
you could
You know,
limit,
you know
and
what
it's
I'm saying?
not, it's not that many.
I think like 4 or 5, it might be 6 at the most.
I think he had a total of, if I counted correctly today, I think he had a total of 8, but 4 of them were inoperable. 4 or 5, and then he was waiting on customers to pick up. Of course, he has the same issue that I'm sure every mechanic shop has. He's fixed your car, he's waiting for you to come get it, but you don't have the money, so you're not coming to get it yet. And that's obviously a strain on him as a business owner also. But I think if you just regulated whatever distance, like you said, Alderman Miller,
Yeah.
and restrict that times, I think
6 to
that
8
probably,
6 to 8 spaces, I think that should take care of it. What y'all think?
Yeah, until the street widens back out, yeah.
if you went to the top of the hill, if you notice where where they were parking behind that fence, that's where it opens. So I think if you did from the crest of that hill back to the corner of the intersection, I think would be sufficient. And he absolutely understood, and I told him, I said, we're gonna discuss it tonight, you're more than welcome to come, and he said, no, sir, I understand, so.
So no parking, 6 PM to 6 AM from the crest of the hill back north to the corner
Yes, sir.
of Center Street. Does everybody understand the same? Any discussion on that? Yes, sir. Please come up and speak.
Yes. I'm Al Hamble, and I own the building and the property, and I just wanted to be clear on what you're saying there. You're saying, so you're kind of leaning towards no parking from what time?
From 6 at night till 6 in the morning.
Okay.
So it gives you 12 hours during the day to park, 12 hours
Yes,
at night.
He's got, I'm guessing, 5 painted by the city spots to park on the side of the street. And I've told him, it's your business, but what they don't like is when you got 2 or 3 extras going up over the hill. You're getting over your deal, but like the officer said, sometimes that'll happen. I said, you just got to tell people there's nowhere to park. I can't take you right now. But my question is when he's parked in the designated spots that he can park, that the laws show, when I bought the business, it's been renting steadily for 25 years now. I bought it from Ronnie Young. My question is, right there where he's painted to park, can he leave those 5 cars there right in front of the business overnight? Are you saying no cars out there at night at all? That was my question.
Yeah, none at all there. And that's really the problem is it's so narrow through there, and those cars
Yes,
are
sir.
just staying all the time.
That's what I wanted to be clear on. Because, my concern, as y'all can see, is, whatever affects my tenants' income affects my income.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to know.
And that's one reason that the chief has spent some time talking to him. We didn't want to just blindside him. We
Yes,
wanted to
sir.
make sure he was part of the solution with us.
Yes, sir. I
Because
knew
we don't
you
want to
were-
run anybody out of business. We
Right,
need all
and
the
I
car shops we
appreciate
get.
you, sir. That's exactly my thoughts on that, and he is willing to, he's been trying to clean up. He's done a lot to the building, remodel the bathrooms and stuff like that, and I wanted to, help if I could on blacktop and anything, and I want the town to look good. We're having more festivals and apartments being built, and there's some being built right there, which those people probably aren't going to be real happy at 3 in the morning when the ice plant kicks on. They'll be in there talking about that to you.
It is a little noisy.
He hadn't been there at 3 a.m., and when that
That's
thing cuts on, they're going to want their money back. That's what I wanted to know there.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here to represent your client. Any more discussion or a motion?
Make a motion to approve based upon the recommendation parking from 6 to 8 a.m. on the
6 to 6?
6 p.m., no parking from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Yes, sir.
When would this start?
Will this take place, this will probably need to be 30 days from now, or is it immediately?
It-
I really don't know, but I think 30 days would be prudent to wait.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Give them time.
Yeah.
You wanna make that
Effective date of 1 April.
Yeah, effective date of April 1st. How's that?
It's
Is
not
everybody
April Fool.
clear on that as part of the motion?
It's not April Fool now. I mean, it's just come out that way.
Okay.
Can we, I'm sorry, I have one more question. I know we've already done it, but does the weekend times, are those gonna be different? I mean, do we need to restrict weekend nights, as well?
He said Monday through
I mean-
I
Friday.
didn't think about that, but, he is working really hard, and so I didn't want to, I was just trying to say, 6 at night, because there very well may be Saturdays that he's working, because he he's trying really hard to make a go at it. So that's why we said during his normal business hours, and then so hopefully, if he's not there on the weekend, there shouldn't be anything there at all, so.
Well, that's what I mean, not to restrict on the weekends. Or was this just Monday through Friday?
It was, when I talked to him, I just discussed his business hours. So, I mean, we could make it, to make it easy for everybody, we could just say 7 days a week, and then our
And I
signs can
think
reflect.
our motion probably was for 7 days.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
All right, we will move on to item 13, which is a discussion on purchasing land to build the animal shelter on. We are going to be opening bids on that animal shelter on the 15th. We extended the time because there were a couple of new bidders that came in, so we extended it by 2 weeks so we could get as many bidders as possible to hopefully get a better price. So they need to know where they're going to build it. So, Bruce, do you want to lead that discussion?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've had several complaints about where we currently we're going to build it there in the Renaissance Park. Just the location, the land. I know Susan and them, they were afraid if they had to go out there at night, they'd be out there by themselves, no one around them. And we thought, you know, if you think of an animal shelter, I'm thinking of an industrial park, not a ballpark. So we looked at some land, could get it fairly cheap, and on top of that, it's 3.75 acres, and it could be used also for future expansion for public works. And me, Natalie, and Beth were on the committee, and that was our recommendation of where to go with that.
This is on Whitfield Drive, right?
It's on Whitfield Drive, yes, right beside the public works.
And I will say the land has not been surveyed officially. It's the land that the man has cleared. I think he had the tax assessor's office kind of tell him approximately how much land it was that was cleared, so it would need to be surveyed if this is the direction we're going in. He did give us a price of $150,000, and they said it was about 3.7 acres.
I think we ought to, before we make a decision to relocate this, after all the work that we've put into it, preparing the site, I don't disagree that there might be a better location, but we're close to getting our bids back. A couple of weeks away, the 15th, from getting our bids back. And I personally think we ought to open those bids and see what kind of money we're looking at to build the facility before we start talking about spending another $150,000 on top of whatever that cost is going to be. And I'm of the opinion that if the decision is made to relocate and spend another $150,000, I'm in hopes, and our animal shelter people will lose a little bit here, but we're going to have to find a way to get options out of that building to replace that $150,000, my opinion. So when we get those bids, I hope that we can get a breakdown that shows the base cost of the building and what the options, if there are any options, and the associated costs for those options are, so that we can discuss, do we want to eliminate anything, leave it alone? Because, I mean, we've been battling all along, and y'all know this. This is the third time we've had to rebid that because the pricing was just out of line. So we've been struggling to try to get our new animal shelter built, but to do it at a number that fits our budget a little better. So I'm just concerned that if we get high numbers again, and then we're talking about throwing another $150,000 into the picture, we're dealing with a big number again, is my concern. So having said that, I'm just suggesting that before we take action on this, we ought to at least wait until we get our bids opened and see what we're looking at a cost for the building.
I'm of the opinion, no one talked about this, but we have spent already taxpayer dollars on that site. Upward to $84,000. You hear what I'm saying? $84,000 site preparation. $84,000. And if we want to move that site, we just telling the taxpayer we're gonna waste your $84,000 because that was a pad that was built especially for this site, for this building. So we finna take $84,000 and just leave it on the ground. I mean,
Well-
could I finish?
Sure.
That's my thought, and then, so, to me, that needs to be figured into also, not only just adding another additional $150,000, but the $84,000, $75,000 to $84,000 that has already been spent of taxpayer dollars. That's all I gotta say about it. And the board gonna do what the board wanna do, but I'm just concerned about taxpayer money and wasteful spending, and we already done spent $84,000.
I do agree that we have spent a good amount of taxpayer money, but I don't think that it's gonna be wasted. I think that because of the future, use of the park, that pad can be used for possibly like a parks office or, a tennis court facility, concession stand, bathroom. Like I do not think that will be wasted at all. I think it will be used for something for all the taxpayers to enjoy.
I agree with you.
That's just my opinion.
No.
And then also with that purchase of that land up there, you got site preparation up there also, so you got to figure in another, not just the purchase of the land, $150,000, but you also got to figure in site preparation. So that's additional money. So the cost is more than $150,000.
It
I'm
is,
talking about to add to the cost of the process, the project.
true. But on the other hand, and Mr. Germany can speak to this, I do feel like it would allow for some future expansion for Public Works, that it'd be nice to, that they would know that in the future, I mean, I was out there today and, I mean, there's plenty of stuff. I mean, it looks like it won't be too long before they could use another acre. So I don't think this 150 is just for animal shelter. I mean, it's a big enough space that it will help more than one department.
Is there any ideas where we get that money from, or?
As far as the 150 to purchase it, I did talk with the police chief, and we could possibly take out of the Sallyport money, the $350,000 that we're going to use to build that. Based on the plans and so forth, we know it won't be completed by the end of September. So he's agreed to let us have $150,000 of that from his budget to purchase that. As long as, if we give that back at the next budget year. So we could do that without having to borrow the money.
But that $150,000 coming out of it is borrowed money. So that's borrowed money, correct? So we talking about, even if it's in September, we got to still borrow an additional $150,000 that we took out of the fire department, the police department, correct? So it's still gonna be another loan.
I may
You're
be
just kicking
mistaken,
the
but I
bucket down the
think,
line.
Mayor, does that money we assumed it was borrowed money, but I think you actually put that
Yeah,
in
we
the budget.
did find
correct?
out that was not borrowed money for the Sallyport. It was just money that was going to be spent within the budget.
I also thought it was borrowed money too.
But it's still, at the same time, even as you're kicking the can, it's still borrowed money that you're gonna do, to replace that money back with is borrowed money.
Yeah, it'll have to be allocated in the next budget for sure.
And we budget scrap now with infrastructure and everything else that we're trying to do.
Joe Franklin.
That's my opinion.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but this is our first conversation around this, so would you be able to just guess at what it would take prep work-wise to get that site ready to build on?
Basically, he's moved all the dirt off of this site, so I wouldn't foresee a lot of site preparation for it other than Supposed to build in the parking lot, building the building, getting the water and sewer over there to it.
Well, we got water and sewer out there, so that helps.
Right.
I think as far as
$25,000, would that be a fair number?
I would say you probably budget that. But, the soil conditions are a lot different over there. There's probably better soil for sure than we had there at Renaissance Park. That's where our cost went up over there because of the poor soil conditions and trying to build a building on unstable soil.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of gravel in that ground over there, so.
That's a lot better soil
Yeah.
over there behind the shop.
Do we lose our possible purchase of this land if we do wait until the bids come in?
I don't know that he has other offers. It wasn't listed for sale. Although I would say it seems like a pretty good deal for that amount of land, so I don't know the answer totally, but I know it's not listed.
And Mr. Mayor, for clarity, I'm not saying that the price of the land was unfair.
Oh, no.
Make that for the record. My point is the amount of taxpayer money that we have already spent towards this project.
Right.
And with Public Works, I think Public Works told us they were good, they weren't concerned about expansion in no time in the near future. Is that all correct, Mr. Germany?
Right now, yes, sir, but it would benefit way down the road.
Oh, yeah, way down, when you're talking way down, 10, 20 years? I'm just saying, so,
Right.
huh?
5, 10 years, something like that.
That's what I'm saying, down the road.
Sure.
So many things can happen in 5 to 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that 150 could turn into 400,000
I-
5 years down the road.
I don't, like I said, I didn't say that the price of the property was outrageous. I never said anything about the price, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good time to do it. I think that we don't spend enough money in, trying to get this done. And it's been going on for years. I mean, seems like the closer we get to getting this built, something else come up. And it's been, it's been an ongoing thing for years. Seems like the closer we get to getting this built, something come up. Either came out the cost that it costs too much to build, this and that, so. And Doc, down to your question, this building has been stripped to the max. I don't think it's too much, nothing that you can take out now level. I mean,
I'm
that's
not
my
on that
opinion.
committee, but
Hey, well-
I've heard there were gonna be some options that were included that might could come out. so.
The architect did have a few different packages
Yeah.
that through it, so that, yeah, there
That
would be options.
Yeah, there would be options. Alternates is what they call them in the
Yeah.
bidding
Right.
process, so.
Well, I only mention that again, just as a way that maybe we can add that down the road and help absorb the $150,000, $200,000 it's gonna cost to get this other site ready. So I'm just looking for ways that we can, a win-win. And we're only 2 weeks away from having those bids.
Will we have those bids, that's on the 15th, which is our next meeting, will we have those by,
We will.
That night?
We'll look at them very quickly with Doug Thornton, and he will be advising this board on which is the best bid. And the idea is that we will bring a suggestion to the board meeting that night.
Do we anticipate multiple
We do.
submissions?
We do.
Can we table this till the next meeting so we can confirm whether we're going to go forward with the 3.75 acres at the same time?
Y'all can do whatever y'all want to do, whichever way y'all want to go. Y'all are the board.
Can we legally ask, I don't know how many bids we're getting on the animal shelter, but whoever's bidding it, can we send them something saying, hey, give us a price based on if it was built on this lot in the industrial park?
That's a legal question because
I don't know if we can
that's
change.
already been sent out.
yeah.
I think that's already been done.
Yeah. We can always, I know the architect can put an addendum out to everybody who's picked up a set of plans, but it would be hard for us to put out an addendum saying, well, it might be there.
Yeah.
If tonight y'all decided it was gonna be there, we could put an addendum saying, hey,
So if we decide to purchase this land, do we not have to get it appraised first and all that?
we would, yeah. We wouldn't be, we would, if and when y'all decide to, if you say that we're gonna buy it, then we would direct the attorney to work with a closing
reason why I
attorney
say-
and get a contract ready for y'all to
So the
approve.
sheriff's department bought a building right there by the, and it took like 6 months to close on that thing. So is that kind of what the process is gonna be like, or?
I wouldn't think it would take that long, because we're not, we wouldn't, doesn't sound like we'd be borrowing money.
No, but
Just
I mean,
however,
you gotta get appraisal.
do the title work and then appraisal, I would think
Everybody's
30
buying
days in
houses,
this
busy,
market.
and so-
Yeah, shouldn't take 30 days.
30 days, you think?
Because we could not pay more than appraised value, of course.
Right.
So,
I don't think that'd be a problem.
You may want to get the appraisal first, then.
Can we, I don't know what it costs to get it appraised, I don't know.
Joe, our appraisals on something like that about $500? Just on a piece, 1,000, okay.
Well, to Beth's point, I'd like to make a motion that we table this item until the next board meeting to give us an opportunity to open our bids, identify if there are any options that we can use to help offset this money. And then I think we would be in a better position to make a good decision. So my motion is to table this until our next meeting so that we can get our bids and get them opened.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there more discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna ask a quick question. So if we did table it, I mean, I don't have an issue, I guess, but if we did, and we opened the bids, opening the bids is based on building it out there at Renaissance Park. So if we bought this land, we'd have to redo the bids again, correct?
I would think we could just individually talk to whoever the best bidder was and negotiate with them on a different site. In my mind, either site's just as easy to build on.
As long as we can do that, negotiate a different site, I'm okay tabling it to the 15th.
So is the answer to his question, we wouldn't have to rebid?
I don't think so. I think we could, because it's not site-specific on the bids, I wouldn't think.
I didn't see the bid publication, but I wouldn't think it was site-specific, so they're just bidding on building whatever it is. not-
They're both within 3 miles of each other.
The city of Hernando would look at it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see that being an issue.
Any
Well, I
other-
don't want to go back out on bid. I hope this is our
No.
last bid. So
Amen.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, you can't go back and renegotiate and redo, you're gonna take the lowest bid.
right.
And so that's gonna, if it's different for anybody, it's gonna be different for everybody, so I think.
And any time you accept a bid on something, then once you accepted your bidder, there are always room for negotiations within it at that point. So we
Plus,
could
if
just,
the lot on Whitfield Drive is in better shape,
No, it's gonna be cheaper. to
better
build there.
quality, it might be better.
It'll be cheaper.
I mean, it won't make a big difference. It shouldn't.
I
but
wouldn't
mean,
think so. Any other discussion before we take a vote? If not, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker, Alderman Ross,
Aye.
Alderman Piper is absent, Alderman Harris, Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
And the motion passes. This will be brought up at the next board meeting. Item 14, Joe, would you come up and talk about the crack seal quotes? And just for everybody's information, some of the streets that y'all approved to be paved this year we're gonna be opening bids on those this coming Friday to get that process started. So those will come before you at the next board meeting to accept the best bid on those.
Okay. So, on that list, we had 4 areas that we were going to do crack sealing projects on, and we've done 2 of them. And so I took quotes on the other 2. That's Weathersby subdivision, all that subdivision. And Notting Hill, does not include 2 streets in there at this time. I need to do some repair on them. So Riley Paving gave me the lowest bid again, the same price as before, 75 cents. So on Weathersby, that dollar amount was $21,300. And on Notting Hill, their quote was $37,650. So it's a lot more to do in Notting Hill. But I guess we picked these 4 areas because they had streets that obviously needed crack sealing, and they had streets that we'd never overlaid before. And so the idea was to try to see if we could do the crack seal, make the streets last longer before we had to do a major overlay. So we'll find out if that's true. Everybody says it is, so that's kind of where we are on that. And we are bidding, I think, seven different streets Friday, so. And all of them have different things to do on them, milling, patching, overlaying. That's coming up Friday.
Any questions?
Those 2 streets that you said got to have repair work, will repair work be done in enough time for them to do work on them while they're out there?
Yes. We do the repair the same one day and then overlay the next.
Okay.
So those 2 streets are getting overlaid, not crack sealed?
That's right.
They'll be repaired and
Friday's
overlaid.
list is
Okay.
overlays.
So on that list Friday are the 2 streets left out of Notting Hill? Is that what you're saying?
No. We'll do some patching on Notting Hill streets ourselves.
Oh, okay, all right, so we're just gonna patch, okay,
Right.
gotcha.
And what about the bid for the soccer fields?
Working on that.
Working on that.
We've had a meeting out there to discuss what we want to do and how it's going to look, so I'm finishing the plans on that.
The idea is that they'll be presented to y'all, they'll
Yes.
put out for bids at the next board meeting.
It's following the same idea that we started with last year.
In Weatherby, is this gonna fix those like gaps that are all in the neighborhood? They're like,
Like that,
yeah. that
Some of them
go-
are like that, and some of them you can put your hand down in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what this is for?
That's what this
Okay, good.
does. The streets are in pretty good shape other than the cracks.
They
big
are.
cracks.
But they run horizontally across, yeah.
That's
Okay.
the soil cement expanding and contracting in the streets. So the base is fine, it's just expansion and contraction there. It's, over the years, has caused those cracks.
Okay, well, good.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to accept the bids that were, or quotes that were offered up by the city engineer?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 15 is approval for the county election commissioners to use the Gale Center at no cost for election training on May 9th through 13th from 5 to 9.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Jared, will your department notify them and let them know we're going to allow them to do that? Thank you. Item 16 is to accept the donation of the hanging flower pots on the courthouse square from the Hernando Women's Club. Natalie, I know you had been talking to them. Can you give us a little update?
So, they've been researching it. We're looking at some self-watering hanging baskets. They have a reservoir in the bottom so that you only have to water them like once a week. They're going to get with Mr. Germany they're also going to purchase a spray rig, something that he'll verify will fit on a truck or something we already own. So they will provide that as well to be watered just once a week, spring through fall. They'll take them down in the wintertime, and they'll be on the 16 historic poles that go around the square. So I think that's most of the information.
Okay. And we had looked at trying to get irrigation to them, but there was going to be a lot of street cutting, and it was going to be fairly expensive, so we're going to
start out trying to let Roger water them once a week and see how that goes.
When will the plants go up?
Well, they were really wanting to get some up this year, this spring, but you really kind of have to plant them in a greenhouse ahead of time so that when they come out, they're kind of ahead and they'll look good. So I am not 100% sure they're going to make it to be done for this year, but then they'll get ordered and definitely for 2023.
Any other questions? Can we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Next is to accept a donation of replacement street signs at certain intersections in the historic district of Hernando. As y'all know, they have all just gotten old. They're falling into disrepair. You can't read some of them. And the Young Women's Club has said they were going to replace some of them. And then we'll see how many are left and see what we can do within the city budget to handle the rest of them. Natalie, how many were y'all going to do?
Well, we wanted to do 8. When the quote came back, the price had increased a little bit from a month ago. So we're going to be able to do 7. There are, I think, 34.
Okay.
We're working with Mississippi Prison Industries. It's a very nice looking pole. They can't match exactly the ones that are out, but they'll be pretty close. Black iron, powder coated. One difference is the street signs will actually be a digital print, and they'll be reflective, which the current ones are not. So.
And these will require much less maintenance, and that powder coat on them won't fade out, and the letters on the signs themselves won't go away like the vinyl letters have been doing.
Yeah, so they'll be 12 feet tall. Is that what we went with? 12 feet tall. And just very nice looking. I've pinpointed the worst ones at the moment, so we're just going to go with the ones that have the most wear and tear look to them, and then we'll, go from there.
Thank y'all for doing that. Can I have a motion?
So made.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is a discussion of potential traffic improvements at Mackinbell and Holly Springs Road. This is very near and dear to Alderwoman Ross's heart. It's a fairly dangerous intersection, and I know you've been concerned about it, as we all have, and thought you might want to lead that discussion and talk about some ideas.
Well, we don't have the money. I think a roundabout would be good there, even though people freak out when you say roundabout in Hernando. I think it would be good for the traffic flow issues, but we don't have the money to put a roundabout there at this point. So I was looking at the Byhalia Jaybird curve there, where the county just basically came in and designated where you turn if you're coming from a certain direction, and you're not just left out there for traffic to, you're going to run into the back of somebody. That's what's happening on Holly Springs. Of course, I live in Ward 5. I live out off of Jaybird in Holly Springs. I go that way quite often, and I go both directions. And I've been behind people when you're going west on Holly Springs, taking that wooded curve, that wooded lot, coming around with Toyota on your left, and people stop in the curve to go back to Mackinbell, which is extremely dangerous. Since we don't have the money, and I don't know if we'll even have it, I don't believe we'll have it budgeted for the 22-23 budget year, but I was wondering if we could just designate right there in that curve where it's gravel now. It used to have some dumpsters there many years ago on the baseball field side, where there's a Tate Reeves sign that's been laying there for, I know 3 years, and it's still in the grass. Anyway, on that side of the road, there's a gravel area.
You say Lieutenant Governor or Governor?
It says governor. So it's been laying there for a while. I thought maybe some of his Republican workers would have picked that up by now, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that just gray area, so if you're going west on Holly Springs, nobody's just going straight to that gravel area in the curve. They're going around the curve and then almost getting hit because you don't see anybody coming if you're going east on Holly Springs. So I was wondering, and I was talking to Joe Frank about it, if it was something that it would be an inexpensive type fix to mark or designate any possible way to keep the traffic flowing, because we can't just stop, you know, if you're going east on Holly Springs or west on Holly Springs, or, you know, trying to go, because that's a pretty high traffic area, and y'all know, because the police station's right over there. I mean, I'm trying to come up with some ways that are less expensive, maybe painting the road and designating where someone can turn if they're going west on Holly Springs to turn on to Mackinbell and utilize the space we have. Anything to prevent a wreck, because I've almost been in wrecks there, and I've seen multiple near wrecks there. And I know it's a concern for many people that live on that side of Hernando.
Joe, I know you've been part of designing a roundabout there for whenever funds are available. And so you're probably, from an engineering perspective, more familiar with it than anybody. Do you have any ideas of something we could do with striping to make it safer until such time as we can do the permanent fix?
Yeah. Well, we've had two studies done there. The last study, you have a video. There is a video of how the traffic would move through a certain design, not a roundabout, but a certain design. And Beth gave me a plan that's kind of been drawn out, and it comes close to what this last study said that just a striping of the intersection would look like. I guess one of the issues there is the traffic is so uneven. You know, there's a lot more traffic, Holly Springs, Mackinbell route, than it is coming up from the south. And then you got some left-hand turn problems there too. But we can look at this video and it kind of goes through what cars would do. Now, I guess one of the problems with the video is that, and the striping we're talking about, somebody's got to stop. Whereas now, the traffic just moves right on through from Holly Springs to Mackinbell without anybody stopping. But under a striping plan, almost any striping plan there at that intersection, somebody's going to have to stop. If you're going south on Mackinbell, the video that you have makes that person stop until the others go through the intersection.
Who produced the video? I haven't seen it.
I think Pickering did that one.
Can you get that out to me so I can get it to everybody on
I
the board?
think so.
Okay.
It's a pretty neat thing, showing the traffic movements. It shows cars going through it and what they do. On this plan right here, you kind of have two people trying to stop. I mean, somebody coming south, going south on Mackinbell, trying to go on Holly Springs, they'll have to stop. And then someone going on Holly Springs, going west, but want to turn south on Mackinbell, they're going to have to kind of stop to see what's going on in the intersection. But
I mean, this isn't a perfect solution, but it was at least, you know, maybe a start to see what might even happen, might even work. I don't know. It may nothing work, but I just feel like there's that curve is not being utilized for people turning left if
Yeah.
you're going west on Holly Springs, and it's just, I think it's really dangerous, and people pull, if you're stopped at Mackinbell, which I think that probably should be where somebody would stop, if you're stopped at Mackinbell going north, those people are way out in the curve, and almost the people that are driving going east on Holly Springs around the curve are gonna hit them because their car's so far out. There's no designated areas. That's why I thought that the Jaybird by Helia scenario was something to maybe see if it would even work, the way it was striped off, but it may not. I mean, that area's not, doesn't have the traffic flow that Holly Springs and Mackinbell does at all. I just don't know specifically what would work, because if people have been driving through all these years and all of a sudden somebody has to stop, that's going to be a wreck, or many. So, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think we're going to have it in the budget for, and I don't even know how much a roundabout is. I don't, I've heard people say $1 million in other areas.
I've drawn the roundabout plan too, so I can come up with a number on that, let you see that. The guy that's supposed to develop that southeast corner, he's required to add curb and gutter and a lane on his property, so that's gonna help.
So it might define a little bit more what's not being used right now.
Right.
Did the city pay Pickering to develop that
Yes.
video? Okay. I wasn't aware that it
I believe it's
existed.
Pickering, but
So-
we'll look at it and see.
Yeah, if we had requested this, then what happened after that study was done? Nothing,
I think there's any money, I think, the problem.
well, not for the just restriping.
What happened after the study was presented, I'm not sure.
Goes where all the studies go.
Just didn't, somebody just didn't push it forward, I guess.
Like somebody's shelf probably.
Yeah, if we could all look at it, it would give us something to think about for sure, especially since we've already
How
paid
long ago
for
was
it.
that study done?
It's since Toyota put that lane in there.
I would like to see a hard number of what it costs to get a roundabout.
Just so we know.
Yeah.
I mean, with the county growing out Holly Springs and more houses being built in that community and businesses and everything at Getwell in Holly Springs, that area, it's just more traffic that's going to build up there.
You got the development on Jason Jaybird or whatever.
I mean, it's growing. I mean, there's a lot of homes being built. So, I mean, it'd be good to at least put a number to it and see if it's something that we can even,
Think about, yeah.
yeah.
Especially when we start talking about our long-term capital plans, that needs to be a piece of that. So if you could come back to us with an estimated price for the roundabout and the design so the board could look at it, and then send us that video, that would give us two things to be looking at. Is everybody okay with that? Do that? Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Ross, thank you for bringing that up. I don't know that we need a motion on anything on this item tonight.
No.
We'll move on to item 19 to approve the utility adjustment docket.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the utility docket.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 20, I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss executive session.
So made.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. This meeting is now in closed session.